Fire and fabrications. The US 2020 election.
So I thought I'd make a quick video reflecting on the recent political turbulence in the US and looking forward to the US election. I'm sure we've all seen the footage of the devastating fires wreaking havoc through California and Oregon and leaving thousands of families displaced. It's horrific scenes. But I wonder if anyone had seen the excuse Donald Trump gave yesterday for the carnage in this clip here.
Trees fall down after a short period of time, about 18 months. They become very dry. They become really like a matchstick. And they get up, you know, there's no more water pouring through. And they become very, they just explode. They can explode.
You hear that? Exploding trees are a thing now. Darling, this garden looks something of a mess. What's been going on here? Trees have exploded again, darling. Oh, curse these exploding trees. I mean, what the f***? I mean, this is the inevitable result of denying science for decades. The Republican Party has been bought off by the fossil fuel industry to try and deny the link between fossil fuel burning and the warming planet. And this is the inevitable result. A man who just plain rejects science. So I'm going to put up a graph here, and as you can see, this is the mean temperature value above or below average for most of the last 200 years. And I don't think you need to be a scientist to see that there's a bit of a trend there. But according to Donald Trump, filmed a few days ago in California, this is what he believes is going to happen.
So I think one area of mutual agreement and priority is vegetation management. But I think we want to work with you to really recognize the changing climate and what it means to our forests and actually work together with that science. That science is going to be key, because if we ignore that science and sort of put our head in the sand and think it's all about vegetation management, we're not going to succeed together protecting Californians.
Okay, it'll start getting cooler. You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Well, I don't think science knows, actually. Tom?
And sadly, this is why America has over 6 million cases of coronavirus and over 200,000 deaths from COVID-19. This is the result of decades of being told that climate science is a hoax. Well, eventually, if you're not going to believe the climate scientists, you're not going to believe other scientists either. And Donald Trump, even several years ago, he blamed the Chinese. He said that global warming was a hoax made up by the Chinese. You wonder, is there anything Donald Trump wouldn't blame China for? You know, if he can't find his pants in the morning, he'll be on Twitter saying China stole them. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got my problems with China, but I don't blame them for every problem in the world, like Donald Trump seems to. Another uncomfortable truth is that there are many Americans who have gone so far down the rabbit hole of internet-fueled conspiracy theories that they're really quite unreachable now. There's millions of Americans who subscribe to QAnon. And this is a theory that the US Democratic Party is a satanic sex cult involving paedophiles, child smuggling, cannibalism and child sacrifices. I mean, it's all fairly standard stuff. I mean, who isn't doing that? But I don't know, these people have lost their fucking minds. And I don't think you can ever reach these people now. Their brains are too contorted by these ideas to logic and reason just bounce off them. There's a certain section of the US population now that is very lost, and I don't think can be reached by conventional means. Maybe a psychiatric institute, maybe that's the place for them, but that's just the unfortunate reality, and it is fueled by social media. I mean, recently I've been reading how in German schools they actually teach children how to spot propaganda because of their political history with both the extreme right and the far left. And I think that's something we desperately need in British schools. We need to educate people how to become more discerning about what they're reading, because the internet is awash with information, but so much of it is nonsense. And we need to get children to understand how to differentiate between what is true and what's not, or what is somewhere in between. Because most people now are getting their news from Facebook, from Twitter, sometimes from Instagram, And we need to educate people more about how to use these platforms effectively, because a lot of people are just conned by seeing a website. If it appears on Facebook, that almost legitimizes it. The fact it's on a platform, well, it must be true. I saw it on the internet. I mean, we really need to get a grip of this, because this is where people are getting their news from. This not trusted sources. These sources are clickbait. They're people who put wacky stuff out there, and the more viral it goes, the more money they get. That's what they care about, and they know that these crazy ideas spread the farthest, the furthest, the quickest. And that's just the reality. Now, looking ahead to November, I would still say Biden is the slight favourite to win, but it's far too close for comfort. And whatever happens in November, you think Trump is going to go easily? You think he's going to accept, well, Sleepy Joe, he beat me fair and square, I better go. No fucking way. The guy is going to call it a hoax. He's going to say millions of Mexicans voted illegally. The deep state, it was all arranged by them. He's going to do everything possible to stay in power, because while he is president, he has some protection from prosecution, from his criminality, from decades of criminality. Once he leaves that office, he doesn't have that protection, so he will do anything to stay in power. And unfortunately, he has hordes of crazy supporters, many of whom are armed, and he's been prepping them over months. This thing about the ballots, all being mail-in ballots, it's all fake, it's all going to be a fix. He is prepping people for November. So if he loses, he is going to ask people to come out in the streets with their guns and try and overthrow the election. And everyone's got to be prepared for that, because whatever happens in November, whichever the result, it's going to be a horror show. That's just the reality of it. It's going to be messy. And I think the Democrats need to prepare for every eventuality, because this man will try anything to stay in power. There is no bottom to his barrel. Now, Trump has labelled Joe Biden a radical leftist. I wish he was a leftist. He's certainly not. He's a conservative, corporate, centrist Democrat. But he's not Donald Trump. He's not insane. He's definitely lost a step or two. He's not as sharp as he used to be, certainly, but he's not Donald Trump. He's far better. He will do something on climate, not as radical as I think is needed and what Bernie Sanders was proposing, but he'll certainly bring some sanity and stability back, and my God, do we need it after this crazy year. So, this has been a pretty uplifting video. So to end on a positive note, they always used to do it on ITV, I remember. You'd have, death and scandal and, outrages, and then at the end there'd be the and finally, and it'd be like an otter who's learned to jet ski, So I'm going to end this on a positive note with a musical outro, so just a bit of piano just to lighten the mood slightly. So take care, everyone.